No recording. Oh no. But yeah, so just to recap that, so you've got relationships, that's regressions and scatter plots. And then you've got, if you're looking for differences in groups, that would be like t-tests, ANOVAs, and the corresponding plots would be bar plots or box plots. We also use box plots to and examine statistical assumptions, in particular homogeneity of variances. And then histograms, right, are useful to see how frequently a particular value is occurring in a population, um, or to check whether, really whether data are normal, which is doing the same thing. It's visualizing how often a particular value in a population is observed, but helps check for normality before doing analysis. So I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully by now, if not, you need to do it, right? You'll go to, you have downloaded the the link is higher up in the chat there. I'll put it in there even again. You need all the files that are in this folder. There you go. And so I'm gonna go into our studio and we are going to um install and load the required packages. But first, I'm going to go ahead and load the data in here. Okay, so um, I'm going to go over here to my environment and click import. And we always use from text read R, right? Okay, I've got two data sets to import. The heights data set, which is what we're going to start with, and then the crayfish data set, which is what you're going to play with. So I'm going to hit browse. This is just what we've done before. And I'm going to navigate to my folder because I didn't set a working directory. And going to upload. They don't let you do one at a time. So I'll do heights first. It doesn't really matter what order you do it in. I'm waiting for the preview to pop up before I proceed. Here we are. And it should populate my environment. There it is. I have 10,000 observations of 3 variables. So this is sex, height, and weight. So I notice I have a category and a couple of quantitative variables there. That's always a good thing to assess. Remember, like one of the first days when I was talking about R versus Python, I was telling you also like how to figure out what variables you've done, right? How to essentially hone in on a data set for potential questions by evaluating the variables. Okay, so now I'm going to import crayfish. So again, I'm going to go up to my environment and I'm going to click import from text read R. And I'm going to import the crayfish data set. So that heights data set is just like heights of 10,000 people and their corresponding weight and whether they were male or female. And now the crayfish data set, this was actually field, I think this is field data. Let me see here. We're waiting for it. Yep. And so just so you know what this is, and then my preview pops up, yeah, pop up. And it's just telling me the year the data were collected, where they were collected, a riffle. And again, y'all know a lot of y'all have told you multiple times I'm a stream ecologist, and so we do a lot of work in rivers. Go out there and grab up some crayfish. So a riffle is just a piece of a stream. It's basically like sight within a stream. It's a piece of a stream that's like bubbly. Um, and then it's basically this is sight. Species, this is the species of crayfish, Orconectes, Miki, Orconectes williamsi. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's Spexonius now. The genus names have changed, but it doesn't matter. This isn't a zoology class. This is R. And then adult versus young of year. So this is like um number of adults versus young of year. And young of year are just like the babies. So I have my data sets. I'm gonna actually go ahead and X out of those in my script window. So I've looked at them. And I'm gonna open up my script. So you want to import these data. Just so you know, I have 60 observations of 6 variables that we just went over. So now we're going to open the folder. I'm going to go over to my left side in the top left. And you see here, this cute phone is so cute. And I'm just going to open it. I love the little icons. I think they're so cute. Um, and then I'm in the wrong folder. Ooh, that's fun. But that's not a big deal, right? I didn't set a working directory like I showed you earlier today. And again, working directories are not like a mandatory thing. It's just to make things easier for you. Sorry, I have to adjust this. And so I'm coming out and I'm grabbing, yours might be in your downloads folder. I hope this is the updated one. This morning, remember, I was like, I updated this. Oh, it is. Okay, good. So we are going to go through there, install the packages, and we're going to start graphing. And you can use this template code to make graphs for your own stuff forever, actually. So second day using R and you're already graphing. You're way ahead of where I was, that's for sure. So we're going to need ggplot2 and ggthemes. These are packages. ggplot2 is a package that graphs. ggthemes allows you to really customize graphs. And there are a lot of customization possibilities. It can be overwhelming. Like I told you, I have like a 50 line code script that is specific to like what I like to put into manuscripts for publication because I like a particular format. My friend, I told you about her yesterday, she had like an advisor. Her code was like hundreds of lines of code long. It was a little off, it was a little crazy, but it was to specifically match the format that her advisor wanted their lab to use. You can kind of come up with your own thing. It doesn't matter. You can keep it really easy too. I usually keep things very minimal when I'm just graphing otherwise, if I'm not about to publish something. So you're going to want to run these 2 lines of code to install these packages. I don't think we installed ggplot2 earlier today. It doesn't matter either way. It never hurts to reinstall a package. It's not going to hurt anything. And your console's going to go crazy. Woo! Party in the console! Party in the console! Woo! Party in the console. Running my code, turn my swag on. Okay, so, all right. So now, remember, we've installed the package. Nothing will happen if we don't put it in our library, right? So we got to run these 2 lines of code where it tells us, hey, R, put ggplot and ggthemes in my library. And you notice or my, it doesn't matter which console you're looking at, console, it says warning message. Package was built under R version 4.4.3. And what is our reaction to that? We don't care. Right, we're good. That's not an error. It's fine. Okay. So the first thing we're going to make is a histogram. All right. So I have a few notes for you on here too. Say note here that your variable of interest or your response variable is going to be X on a histogram because, there's a typo, because frequency histograms give number of observations of a given height, in this case, on the x-axis. So let's say we're going to make a histogram of heights. We want to know how frequently certain heights occur in a population. And it also let us see kind of like where the edges of that population's heights are and the measure of central tendency roughly, and also if those data are normally distributed. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to have a typo here too. I point this out because yesterday there was a good question somebody asked, why is your y variable on the x-axis of a graph? Well, that really only happens when you're running a histogram because in the histogram, your y is frequency and your x is the response. So it's a special case. It can be a little confusing for some folks, and that's okay. But that's why it's like that. It's telling you the frequency that you have observed a particular part of your response. So I'm renaming the heights data set because in R it's heights _3_ because I downloaded this like 3 different times years ago and just never changed the name. I'm sorry. But it's not hard because, right, we're just going to reassign it. It's easy. And now we're going to see heights just plain by itself. It's so beautiful. I love it. So now let me explain each line of this code to you. This is how we make a histogram. Now, let me also say, I'm going to show you which part of this code doesn't matter. Okay. So the heart of the code for a histogram, you could actually get rid of everything else if you wanted, or just these two lines. Okay. Everything else is just extra. If you took them out and you made sure the plus sign wasn't there, because the plus sign tells R and another thing in R language, it's coding language for and, um, then it would work. But I have a few extra things on here to help you customize. Now you can take things out if you want, but these first two lines are critical. So what the code means, and I'll tell you what it means in its entirety, is, hey, ggplot, in the heights data set, so this is where you put your data set name. This just means aesthetic. That's fine. It just means I want you to put on the graph on the x-axis the height column. And notice it says height exactly how is shown in the column name. That is very important. If I were to use a lowercase h, R would be like, that does not exist. Because R is not very smart. Sorry, R. It's on the ground for me. It does still. But R is not very smart in that it cannot tell that it's still the same word, right? It's like, is this what you mean? I don't know. So, height. And then here, the second line of code, and this is true for all ggplot graphs, is where you're telling it what geometry to use, basically what shape the graph should be, basically what kind of graph. So in this case, I'm saying I want it to be a histogram. That's what geom histogram is. Bin width. Does anyone know what a bin width is? You might hear my cats meowing. Anybody know what a bin width is? If not, I'll explain it. I'm gonna explain it anyway. Cool. Okay, I'm glad. Close. It's the size of the bars of your histogram. So the bin width, and we'll play with bin widths just so you can see it. Bin width is, so each observation in your response, you would call it a bin, basically. Kind of. Yeah, yeah. So like it's basically how in the graph it's how wide it's gonna make the bars. Um, but in practice, it's basically like the spread of the observations that are included in that grouping in the graph, in the histogram. Okay, so that's what a bin width is. We'll play with bin width so you can see it visually. Because no one taught me what that meant, and then I had to like figure it out just by playing with R for like I actually figured it out probably about like 6 months in. So, um, okay, facet wrap is not something you have to do. In the heights data set, this is if you want to make separate like histograms for each like treatment you have by like category. I'm going to show you how to not do that because usually when you're just looking at a response, you're not going to do that. But I want you to have the ability to. So hopefully this isn't going to confuse you. So facet wrap is going to make me two histograms by sex. It's going to separate them out by sex. You'll see that because sex is one of the columns. It's a categorical column. That has to be a category. Okay. Theme black and white. This is me. I just chose a regular plain black and white theme. You can look up different ggplot themes and put that in here. Like I use the minimal theme a lot. It just kind of is the look of the graph, essentially. If you want to play with that, if you want to get on the internet and be like, how do I change my ggplot theme? And like put in the code to change the theme, you're welcome to. But you might want to do that a little later once you have a better handle on it, but that's something you can do. You could also just do without this if you want to, but I just usually use this one. This is the labels. So I'm just going to label the title distribution of height by sex. If you don't want a title, you can actually just take out this line of code and remove that plus sign. Just as a reminder, I want to show you something real quick before we run this. It happened this morning, right? If I run this and there's a plus sign there at the end, if you look at my console, I don't know if y'all can see my console. Let me pull it up. I'm now learning. You're gonna have to see this. See all those plus signs? It means I'm not running a new line of code because ggplot's like, you keep saying and. I'm listening to you. Tell me what you want me to know. And I mean, I don't have anything else to say, right? So if I want to run a new command line, if I'm like, no, that's an accident, I'm done. I want to start a new command, you would just put your cursor into the console and hit the escape button. And as you can see, it changes from a plus sign to a little arrow. That means you've run a new command line. You have escaped the prison of the plus signs, as I like to call it. So I'll put this code back in here. All right, so we can run that line of code. And I'll have to reshare because I'm now learning that these windows do not show up for you separately. It used to just happen in R and you could see it easily. But this is kind of nice because these are bigger now. All right. So ideally you have a pair of histograms separated by male and female. That's what the facet wrap does. And you can see, right, my data. And I can say whether it's normally distributed. I can see that around here is the average, like somewhere around 63 inches, right? So there's that. Has everybody got a histogram by sex? If you're following along. This,
Mine says error in ggplot heights, comma ASX is equals to height. Could not find the function ggplot.
okay, it says it cannot find the function ggplot. It means you didn't put ggplot in your library. So go back to the line of code that has library ggplot and run it. And then try again. That's very common. And that's why I like to do these all together too, because the very common errors that come up, rather than scaring you or deflating you, you now can see like these are just really getting errors is really, I mean, a part of programming and coding.
Okay, yeah, I got it. I did not know that we had to run everything again.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. Yeah. So you always gotta start over basically. Yeah. So that's cool. So you got it. Easy.
But Dr. Dodd,
Yeah.
mine is not working
What
as
is the error?
well. Um, object heights not.
Object height's not found.
Yeah.
Is it upper or lowercase? Is it exactly how? Okay, hold on. Is heights in your environment, the data?
Uh, yeah, it has been
All right. Share
assigned
screen.
on. Yeah, it's now in because I didn't run that. That heights was assigned to that.
Oh yeah, you
Variable.
gotta reassign it. Sorry, yeah, you gotta run all the code before. That's another thing, guys. You can't really start in the middle of of a script and run code because almost always, unless it's your code and you've written a note to yourself, like you can start here, whatever. Things before, everything after depends on what's before. That later code is very dependent on the prior code. So try that and then try to rerun it. Anybody else having trouble with the histogram? Yeah, Samantha.
Getting a similar error, like heights not found, and it's
Yeah,
in
did you reassign heights where it says in the code above? I have it where it says, where's it at? It's around line 15, heights, and I've renamed it. If something's not found, it just means it's not in your environment and you probably didn't run the code. You see? What I had to do is put change. Yeah. Yeah, you do. You have to change the name. And I have that on line 15 of the code. So if you run that, it should work. And if it doesn't, then we should troubleshoot that. Is anyone else getting errors? Yeah, Hasina.
So mine is the same problem, like height not found. This is the name of the column height or the name of the data set.
Share
Because like,
Will you share your screen? Will you share your screen? Sorry.
sure.
Yeah, you haven't run the line of code on line 16. So guys, notice on her line 16, it says heights, and then it's reassigning, and it's not, and if you look over in the environment, it's not over there because it hasn't been run.
Gotcha.
So you just
Yep.
run that and it will run. Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
a great thing though. Yeah. So like when you see things that say like object not found, that means it's not seeing that object in your environment. So you usually just have to go up and run the line that it does. Other errors. I want to make sure everybody can do. Awesome. Yay, Samantha. You guys, you made graphs. I know you made some graphs yesterday, but you made graphs at gingerbread. Okay. So now we're going to make another histogram. And this is actually the simpler histogram. Started you off a little crazy. If you don't want to separate anything by a treatment, you just want a full-on histogram with all of your response, this is how you do it. And basically, I'm just saying, hey, ggplot. And these can be separate lines. I threw them all in one. In the heights data set, I want you to use height as my x variable. This just means aesthetic. This means put it on the graph. I want you to make it a histogram. Notice I didn't say which bin width, because I don't care right now. I'll show you how to play with bin width in just a minute, because sometimes, depending on your data, you'll get a message, not an error, that will say pick a better bin width. And it means adjust your bin width so that the bars touch, because sometimes our makes it where the bars don't touch, and so it's harder to interpret and it's not appropriate. R actually finds, oh, that bin width is not appropriate for these data, and you can play with it. I'll show you how to play with the bin width. This is something like when you're first starting out, if you haven't messed with a lot, you may just not really pay attention to, but as you go forward and over the years, you will probably play with bin width more. And then I'm just using the black and white key. So I can run that line of code and I'll share what I got. This is heights across sections, right? This is the whole data set, not separating anything by treatment. So I have my count over here. Notice I don't have a title on here because I didn't specify. And then height. Did everybody get a histogram? Yeah! Graphing and R, you're ninjas. Yes. Yes, I know you got it. Yay! Big wins. Yeah, you should all pat yourself on the back. You're learning how to graph in R. It's very advanced. Excellent. Excellent. Yay! So now I'm going to go back into R. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you like maybe 3 to 5 minutes. And what I want you to do is I want you to copy. You don't have to copy it necessarily. Maybe remember that that was 2, because I found that that was a good bandwidth. I want you to play with the bandwidths and see what they do. Okay? So like you can reduce this to, see what 1 does, right? I want you to do it. See what it does to the bars. And then you can tell me. Maybe you make it a 30. Maybe you make it 15. But I found for these data 2 to be the best.
I just tried 5 and it make it look very weird. It looks like very, very different.
Exactly. Yeah. So that bin width is basically like the bigger it is, the more heights are included in a bar. And so, yeah, you have to kind of find the perfect one. But if you leave that blank, like I did in the next graph, you notice R picked a good bin width for it. It kind of just will automatically pick a good one. So, yeah. But I just want you to know that it's capable of that. That's like a little ahead of where most beginners are, but just so you know it exists. Okay, so like saving graphs, this can be very handy, yes. So like I already showed you, right, that you can export your graphs. Now it doesn't really show up in the plot window anymore, but when I do make a graph, let me go to this. If you go to that window and you want to export it, you'll just go to, let me see here. You'll just go to File, and you can save it however you like. PDF, you can copy it to the clipboard. When I say print, you can print it as a PDF, whatever you like. So it allows you to save that graph or copy it to put wherever you want.
Dr. Dodd, could you show it one more time? I got lost in the middle on how to save it, the
Oh,
graph.
of course. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so let me get back and get Windows real quick. Yeah, so no problem. So here is the histogram. Just a second, share it now. Okay, yeah, so here's my cute little histogram. So if you want to save it, I did go through that. I go over to File on the top left side of the window with the graph in it, and I hit that. And then I can go to Save As, and I can choose the kind of file I would like to save it as. Maybe I want to save it as a PNG file, a PDF, a JPEG, what have you. You can even pick the quality of the JPEG.
It shows something else in my folder. It shows like the list of the files that are in my computer.
Okay,
It's not showing that option.
share your screen.
Okay.
See. Yeah, you can also, thank you. Yeah, you absolutely can right click on it. You're so right. You're so right.
So it's when I click on file, so I did run this code.
You have to do it. Oh no. So yours is in plots. Okay, good. So if it's in the plots window, go back to the plots window, go to export in the plots window. There's a little thing right there, right? You're going right over it.
Okay, wait.
Here.
In plots window or like in files window?
Here, let me just show you now. So if you're in the plot window, mine opens in a separate window, guys. I apologize. It's probably because my RStudio is an earlier version and I'm too lazy to update it. But over here in the plots window, there's an export button. You can save as an image, as a PDF.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah, so that's how you do it in the plot window.
Okay, so we can save it as PDF in any place we want and
Yes.
it will be in our desktop, right? Like in our computer.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So now let's make some box plots. So this is an example of where we need an X and a Y, right? Because in the frequency histogram, we only need an X because our Y is okay. So we're going to graph height by sex so we can compare in a box plot. So I will explain to you so I have both of these on here because this is like, you can see how they're different, right? Now and you can see what of the code is like necessary. So this is, hey, ggplot, I want you to make me a box plot using the heights data set for aesthetic, which is what I want you to plot on there. I want my X to be sex, which is the category, and my Y to be height, which is the response. And I'm just using a plain black and white theme. I've got this on here and the other below it just because so you can see the difference for funsies. So you can graph that. And you'll notice we use box plots a lot for checking homogeneity of variances before we run inferential statistics. So there we go. I love them because look at that little button. Still fun. Still box plot. So while you're getting that to run, and we'll address errors if they come up. So you see, here's my height. It's nice. The black and white theme is very simple. Yeah, you got it, bro. Let's go. Good. Yeah, and what's nice about box plots is they also let you assess for outliers, right? So they'll show up as little dots. And then otherwise you've got like 4 tiles here. Anyway, so you can see the trend here that generally males are taller than females according to this, right? Whenever people are interpreting their statistics, I always say, don't just say there's a difference. And actually, I don't know if there's a statistical difference here. you would say they're, males, you would say the trend, like males appear, they tend to be taller than females. Okay. Did anybody get any errors with their box plot? Yay! Got a box. So you made a box plot. Yay. So just for funsies, I put another line of code down there so you can kind of see why they're different because I've been talking about it. But it's good to see why, right? So below, again, ggplot and want this. Oh, hold on. Maybe I made a mistake. Showed it, didn't I? No, I didn't. Okay. So I told ggplot, and you might notice like this is in a different spot. That's okay. You see it's kind of interchangeable. And then, but I'm using the minimal theme as opposed to the black and white theme, and I'm adding a label. Okay. So if I do that, you can just see how the graph looks just a little different. It's not right or wrong, it's just different. And this is why I'm telling you, you can change the themes if you want. It's just like in R, you can change the theme of your R. And I didn't teach any of you that. I could tell some of you know how, because some of you have seen your themes and they are different from mine. But like, you can change the theme of your R too, and it can look cute and different if you want. Maybe I'll show you how to do that if we have time at the end. So again, outliers. So here, I don't know why I need to center it, but that's not a big deal. But notice how the font's a little different, right? The graph just looks like minimal theme. Again, there are all sorts of things you could look at. Okay, and that can be a fun thing for you to try.
Can we also try to make colored one? What do we have to write? Like, do we in case of BW, do we write a color name in
Yeah, you
code?
will. Yeah, and I have code for that below, so we'll go
Okay.
to yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about customizing. This is kind of just like barely customizing. Yes, absolutely. You can add colors, absolutely, and I'll give you code for that. I'm glad you asked. So now let's run through. We are zooming through these, but we have a lot to do because I have practice for you. Woohoo! So, and that's where it gets kind of hairy because you're like, oh, what do I change? Oh no. So scatter plots for when we want to visualize relationships. Let's say we're interested in seeing if there is a relationship between height and weight. The question is, do taller people weigh more? So to make that scatter plot, and you could have put this here or here. Like you could put this can go either here after ggplot or here after geom point. It actually doesn't matter. So I'm telling ggplot, hey, use heights data set. My x should be height because that's what I'm interested in knowing if that impacts weight, right? So weight is my y. Geom point tells ggplot make a scatter plot with points. Alpha is the size of the points. We can play with that if you like. I use, theme view, this is a thing. And then I'm adding a title, height versus weight. You don't necessarily have to have that. You can. And if you run it, okay, I'm going to show you. Because these are 10,000 data points, so it's really beautiful data. You've got a lot. You're capturing a lot of variation. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And I'll show you later too. Like you can actually change the color of your points. I may not go into it today because it's a little, I mean, this is beginners, but I might. You can actually change the outline of the points and make the fill different, all sorts of stuff. Lydia, can you hit Control Z? That's the undo keyboard shortcut. Try that. Gotta save me before I'm like, and then I hit Control Z and it's all back.
Yeah, so I tried re-uploading it. So it wasn't exactly like the last step that I did. But whenever I put Control Z, it still didn't work.
Oh, but you re-uploaded it.
Yeah. I
Oh,
tried to re-upload it, but now it like won't show up at all.
you can always just re-download it from this folder. That's okay.
Okay.
It's like you always have a backup. Well, Control Z would only work if you had just deleted it, right? And you hadn't done stuff, right? Yeah, it's your undo, but it's okay. He did it. He made it. It's okay. Yeah, you can always just re-download it. That's fine. Oh no, feel better. That sounds good. Feel better. Sound. So we have our scatter plot. That's beautiful. We like that. Okay. So now, man, you already made 3 graphs. It's only been like 45 minutes. Y'all are amazing. How'd you do that? All right. So also, just for funsies, if you want, you can play with the alpha. See how it changes the size of your dots. Like, so you can see. Because like I increased my alpha size, my alpha value. Oh, maybe just transparency. Let's see here. Yeah, so you can kind of just play with that value, see what it does. Oh, I apologize. I put alpha in there. That's not size. That is how transparent your dots are. That's what I meant to put. Because sometimes when you have, I'm sorry about that. So sometimes when you have a lot of points, it can be helpful to see where they overlap, right? So like if you reduce the alpha, which is the transparency of the, I'm sorry, if you reduce the alpha, which increases transparency of the points, there's another code for size, and I'll give it to you later. Then you can very easily see where there is a bigger, right, where most of your data points lie, which is really useful in some instances. So that's how you can use alpha. If you have tons of data points that overlap, then it can help with that. And that is a problem sometimes for folks. So, okay. So that's our scatter plot. We're rocking and rolling. Now just stop me there if you have a problem. Okay, so now we're going to do bar plots. And these can be helpful when comparing categories. I'll be honest with you. If I'm doing exploratory data analysis, I don't usually use a bar plot because they don't show you the full spread of the data, right? A box plot will show you the full spread, but and it'll show you like, mins and maxes and potential outliers. Bar plots don't do that, but they're still useful because you might be wanting to show your data in the end in a bar plot to compare categories. It's just up to you. So, okay. I don't want to scare you with this because there's some extra code here. So I want to compare means. And for bar charts, you actually have to compute the mean. Whereas the box plot will compute really the median, but it'll compute a measure of central tendency in itself and make the box plot, but the bar plot does not. So I've created a function that, so fun fact, I created a function for you. So yesterday I told you can actually create your own functions in R. I don't expect you at all to do that. That's not something beginners usually do. If that's something you end up doing, that's awesome. But I created this function just to determine mean height, but grouped by sex. Okay. So that's a really good use for the group by function. And so you don't have to worry about this line of code so much. Unless let's say you want to do a bar plot, okay? And you have a treatment and you want to visualize your means across treatments for your own data. You might use this function and just change it a little to suit your needs. So I've created this function that you can alter for your own things. So you don't have to come up with your own. So I'm calling it summary DF. So all you would put is the name of your data set in R, so it'd be heights, the categorical treatment you want to group it by. Okay, in this case, it's sex. And then over here, and I'll explain each line, but over here, I'm just telling you what to change right now. You would put the column name exactly how it appears that you want to average by your treatment, your response, basically, right? So what it all means is this is what I'm naming it. name of the data set. These, so in R you have what are called like types and loops. And that is definitely beyond the scope of this. But these are just kind of me telling R, hey R, in the highest data set, I want you to do this. And then I want you to do this. So I'm telling it to summarize specifically a new value called mean height, which is the mean of the heights grouped by sex. So again, the only thing you'd have to change in here to adapt it for yourself is the name of your data set, the name of your treatment column, if it's a categorical independent variable, and the name of your response. You could change this if you want to, but you actually don't have to. So, okay. So we've got to run that. And you notice here, it has created this in your environment. Okay. So now I'm going to come down here because I want to graph my means. Now, I'll tell you another way to do this in a minute too. So I'm saying, hey, ggplot, I want to use this object, which is, oh, there. This object, which if I click on it, you're going to see it's just the means by sex. See what it did? It created a new data frame that just had means as opposed to all of my reps. So I'm saying, hey, because that's what we want to actually graph. We don't want to graph, let me caution you here. When you're comparing groups, you want to compare means. You don't want to put everything on a graph. And so in that case, right, you have to calculate means because none of your data sets have the means calculated, right? So box plots will do it for you, but for a column graph, which is a bar chart, you have to do it. So this is the new object I made, summary df, that has my values I want to graph. And I'm saying my x value is sex, my y is mean height, because that's what it looks like in here. Because I created that column, okay? And then I'm saying I want it to be a column graph, which is the same as a bar graph. I'm just using the black and white theme because of who I am as a person. And then I want to make a title. You can actually leave this off and not have a title. It's up to you too. And I'm just calling average height by sex. You can call this whatever you like. You can call it, I don't know, tangerines, whatever you like. So if we run that, it creates a bar. And you could change like whatever you named that object and the column name, because you know how to change names and stuff now. Like that's the thing, you know a lot. So now it's already easy to get overwhelmed because it's like, okay, I know how to do some things, but now the world's opening up to you, right? So that's a very simple way to do that. Now there are ways to put error bars in an R graph. I don't usually teach it to beginners. I usually just say like do box plots because it's more code it's a little more convoluted than I would like to teach a beginner, but you are more than welcome to try. And we could try to work on it during a help desk perhaps, but I can't promise you that you will get it right off. But that is how you make a bar plot. In this case, we only have 2 treatments, right? So, okay, that's a bar plot. So really fast, before we jump into, maybe we'll jump into customizing real quick. All right. We're gonna do a normal QQ plot. And down here we'll customize. Okay, so a normal QQ plot is one of the ways, aside from a histogram, to tell how normally distributed a data set is. Okay, so this is how you make a normal QQ plot, and you would just use your response. Okay, so here I'm telling ggplot that I want a normal QQ plot. That's what stat QQ means. Using the heights data set, and you just put your response right there, the column name, height. So if I run that, oh, this is beautiful. That's the thing. The more data you have, the better off you are in terms of things like normality. So a normal QQ plot, I think most of you are at least a little familiar with statistics. You want it to be a beautiful straight line across with very little deviation. The tails can, like, So this one is very beautiful, and it's probably because of the large sample size, because the more data you have, the more likely you are to have it, the more likely you are to approach normality. So, because you're accounting for a ton of variations. So yeah, this is a normal QQ plot, and it's beautiful. Man, this is normally distributed. So if you need to make one to show that you were checking assumptions, like I teach my students how to do this to show me they've checked normality, that's how you do it. However, just for showing and exploring, like again, this is for checking assumptions, which to me, exploratory data analysis leads into, right, checking assumptions of statistical tests. Like I always just do a little exploration first. What are my trends going to be? And then I'll start being like, okay, well, now I'm going to run the stuff. And so now I'm going to check my assumptions, right? So, but now you have the tools to do it. Okay, before we jump into practicing on a different data set, does anyone have any questions? Cool. So we're going to spend a little time. Oh, yep. Could not. Okay. If it says cannot find the function, it means you have not installed. Hold on. I think it's not this code. I'm the worst, y'all. It's because I've been using dplyr. Here, I got you. So you need to go install this and dplyr. You need to install dplyr, and I apologize. For some reason, I thought since we installed it earlier today, you might not need to. Oh, I should have put it on. So let's do this. That should work. Because we need the dplyr package. So try that and see if it works. If not, we'll troubleshoot some more because that's not a problem. Just try that. Because dplyr is needed to do that. I apologize. So then how it goes. Yay! Okay, yeah. So it's a dplyr package. So really you want to try to, I would honestly, you might create a little Word document or Google Doc or just a sheet of paper that says, or even like a sticky note that says like common errors. So like object not found, usually you just haven't added it to your environment. So you need to rerun the code, right? Function not found, usually that means you need to install a package. Sometimes you can, I used to, when it would happen to me, I would Google it because then Stack Overflow would come up and people would be like, oh yeah, you need this package. Because I didn't always know what package I needed years ago. So that is a way to do that. Yeah, good deal. Other questions or issues before we try to do some practice?
Can we delete some things from environment but not all things?
Say that one more time, please.
Can we delete some of the files from environment, like not all, just half of it, like the ones that we choose?
Yeah, let me think for a second.
Like in your screen, you have 4 different files, right? So
Yeah, I know.
what if you only want to delete the heights, the 2 files that are named heights? Can we do that? Just those 2.
I haven't done this in a long time. I'm just trying to think if I would do it. Okay. Trying to think, because I haven't done it in a minute. Let me look around. Trying to, because I usually don't even delete a single object. Let's see. I'm gonna try something like this. Hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, so you can use, I was like, I don't know if this still works. You see how I put in RM and then heights
Yeah.
and it went
Oh,
away? That's how you can do it. RM is the command, remove. I wasn't sure it was,
okay. So if I have like 50 files, then I have to do all of these like
you just
40
have to,
times?
you have to like put a comma and put the name,
Oh, okay.
like that.
Oh, I was hoping like if there is some way I could just click somewhere and have it delete like individually, but we have to do all of these, right?
Well, we have to use all of these, but like if you want to just delete a couple of things, yeah, you just type the name in after the remove command.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so it's this, RM, and then you just type the names. Now, if you have like 50 things on here and you only want to delete a few, if you're only deleting a few, yeah, this is the best way to do it. Um, if you want to delete a lot, right, you should use your broom to clear it. But yeah, RM, it still works, thankfully. So that's how you would do that. I'll put it in the chat. Mean height by sex. Show, okay, Samantha, what is the error?
Oh, let me share this. I'm trying to get this summary DF heights group by sex,
Right.
then summarize mean heights, but the code can't go through.
Yeah, just need to see the error.
Okay, let me show
Lydia,
you.
what won't download?
The package.
It won't install the package? What error do you get?
Whenever I try to do it, here, can I share my screen?
Samantha's about to share her screen, but then you can share yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay, you'll have to kind of make your console go up some more because I can't see the error in your console. On the very bottom left. You'll have to go down there and like click enter a few times so I can read as it comes up. There you go. Yes. So that error means that's what I was saying. I for some reason did not put in, you need to put in this code. Unfortunately, you need dplyr. Unfortunately, you just do. Dplyr. And silly me, I forgot to put it in there. So I'm gonna put that code in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So you need dplyr to run that. And then you need to
All
put it
right.
in the library. So if anybody's gotten, oh, it needs a close parentheses. I hit enter before I sent it. So then, yeah, you would just install dplyr and it'll work. Lydia, show me what your problem on your machine is.
Okay. Mm, Okay. So I have the install packages.
Could not find function ggplat. That means the package isn't installed. Did you put it? Did you install that package?
Is that up here somewhere?
Yeah, it's at the very top. You need to install and put it in your library.
I was like, it was just working. That part was. I just was trying that.
Weird.
But this is what it says. It says like,
Yeah, just yes, yeah. Always do it R once, yeah.
And then I put it in the library.
That's right. Yes. Very good.
And then, so then I did all this stuff
Cool.
before. And then whenever it came to installing this,
Yeah.
um,
Updating loaded packages. It's saying updating loaded packages. One or more of the packages. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's try it one more time. Just try yes, and then we'll go back to dplyr again. I don't know. Worst case scenario. Oh no. Okay, you're getting the R tools. Oh shoot. Okay, that's fine. So click no. And then now try putting in the code just try putting it in your library and see what happens. You're getting a warning that is always like the bane of my existence, actually. And I hope it's not gonna bother us. Set it restore dplyr. Now put dplyr in your library. So just use I put that in the
in the
chat.
chat.
Yeah. But you need to close the parentheses.
Okay.
And then let's see. Does anybody else have an error they need to put in the chat? We need to address. And I always take notes on how things are resolved, honestly, guys, because that way you'll remember how to troubleshoot it next time. Attaching package. That's fine. Now try doing it and see what happens. Huzzah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Sometimes that's just what it takes is like just playing around and rerunning stuff and reinstalling and seeing. Yeah. So you guys, you're getting the hang of R because it's just temperamental like that. It's just like a very temperamental little lady. Okay. Any other questions? Any other problems you're having? Because I do want to address it, and I don't mind addressing it in the group for a lot of this because these are very common issues people have so that other people can see. And also you can go back and rewatch the video and
Pardon everybody the interruption, but it is 2 p.m., so we're about halfway through our session. If you want to take a 5 to 15-minute break, whatever the professor in the room will say is okay. And if I interrupted in the middle of a sentence, please forgive me and finish whatever it is that you are doing. Thank you.
yeah. So this is actually perfect because, yeah, any other questions or anything, because this is the perfect time for a break because when we come back, we'll have you practice with the crayfish data set, but you've already made like 5 graphs. You made 5 graphs in like just over an hour. That's crazy. So I'll say let's take 10 minutes. That's kind of nicely in the middle of what she said, right? I know that's longer than what I've been taking, but I'm feeling really good. You guys are like rocking and rolling, which is great. Usually there's actually more trouble than this. How are you feeling? Are you feeling pretty confident? Are you feeling like you're getting the hang of it? Like, okay, this isn't as scary as I thought, or is it still terrifying or like mysterious?
It's not that scary, but yeah, but if I practice a little bit after class, then I'll get a hold of it. Thank you so much. It's not scary, not because it's not scary, but because you did a really, really good job explaining this to us beginners. Otherwise, I would have quit. You
Yeah.
made all very, very easy. Thank you so
Awesome.
much. I really appreciate your
You're so
yes.
welcome. I'm glad you guys are here all. I love sharing the magic. Yeah, so let's say, okay, what time is it? It's 2:02. Oh, thanks, guys. Aw. Well, I want you to, yeah, to be able to just actually learn it as opposed to just be like, here's a million lines of code, rah, right? That doesn't help you at all. So let's see, it's 2:02. And so let's come back at let's say 2:15. All right, let's just come back at 2:15. Then we'll have a nice solid hour. We'll spend half of that time practicing, and then we'll spend the last half learning how to customize graphs just for funsies. Okay? Cool. 2:15. See you then. Oh, I'm gonna turn off my camera for a minute. 2:15.
Is anyone here?
Oh yeah, what you need?
I'm trying to run the code for QQ and it's not going through. I don't
Share
know
your
what's
screen.
happening.
Share your screen.
Okay.
I'm turn my camera back on, guys. I can't see you. It's saying you didn't install ggplot. Yeah, you have the same problem that Lydia had. So just go back up to the top and put ggplot in your library and rerun it. So go back to the top and run the code that says library ggplot. If it can't find a function, it means a package is not installed. No, you don't have to install again. Just, yeah, library. See what happens. Uh-huh, that's fine. Now go back down and run it. It's so weird that it did that to y'all. Okay. Wait,
There's an
what?
error here.
No, you gotta that error is something else. Go to go run line 61. Now run the next line. That's the thing, it wasn't finding it. Mean height. Yeah, because you called it okay. Your Y does not match what you called it. It should be mean heights with a little H, yeah. With an S at the end. You need an S at the end. Look how it's the same in the line above. It needs to be the same as that. There you go. Okay, so now run your QQ plot. Just hit run again. It's already there. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Cool, cool. All right.
May I ask you a quick one?
Very quick, because I have got to go to the bathroom. That's why we're taking a
Yeah,
break.
do we have to really load the package again and bring it to the library over and over?
Every time you open R.
Because I remember my R has been on.
Oh, sometimes it just does that. I don't know why. So yeah, sometimes
Oh,
if it says object not found, or then it means function not found, just go back and reinstall that pack, or just put the package back in your library and see what happens.
thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll be back in just a minute.
Okay.
All right, 2:15, y'all. right, my friends. Let us do some practice. Woo. So we can come back for our last hour. Oh, I should take off my coffee cup. Okay. Thanks for telling me how to do that, guys. I turned off the overhead light. It was too harsh. I'm one of those people. I do not do. Is anybody hates? Okay, I know it's me. Does anybody like hate overhead lights? Like, you can't stand them. I hate them, but I could turn them on for better light for people. I guess you don't have to see me in the overhead light though. I actually have twinkle lights in my living room, so I never have to turn on the overhead light. So, and I use like lamps, salt lamps in those rooms. Overhead lights are very opposite toxic. Um, they're very harsh. Actually, a lot of lights now are mostly blue light, right? And I won't even get into that. None of you are my students. My students at my school get to hear me rant about the alien wavelengths we did not evolve under that are uh, a part of indoor living. That's why I spend a lot of time outside because we evolved to be in the full spectrum of light, the UV with the infrared. That's why the sun makes you warm. Anyway, I could go on about that. I could actually teach a 2.5 hour session about that, about light hygiene. You should look up light hygiene. Like having no like artificial light at night is bad for you. It's actually correlated with um like people who are shift workers, third shifts, have a much higher incidence of cancer because their circadian rhythms are so messed up and that absolutely governs every part of your body. This is the hill I will die. Anyway, back to R. That's actually my favorite thing to talk about in the world. It's what we call circadian biology, chronobiology, and how everything comes down to light, water, and magnetism. Because yeah, we all evolved under the light of the sun. We didn't live inside until really the post-World War II era. And really even more so since with the advent of like computers, screens, and things like that. Also, fun fact, being in front of a blue light on a computer decreases collagen production. It actually increases wrinkling, fun fact. So yeah, I have a red light on my filter in my computer at literally all times. Because the blue light can be so bad for us to have all day long. And definitely bad at night. It completely disrupts the circadian rhythm. It offsets melatonin production by about 90 minutes. So as soon as you log off the computer, you might be able to fall asleep, but it will not be fitful for at least 90 minutes. Anyway, say fitful. Good. Fitful sounds bad. Okay. Anyway, here's my little tidbit. My students like to call them Doddisms. Anyway, they get to hear me rant on and on about the evolutionary mismatch with the way we live today. Because we're actually just mammals. And we live like, I don't even know what it is. Anyway, back to the computer. So let's do some guided exploration, sort of, with this crayfish data set that I got. So you've got crayfish downloaded, right? And so I'm gonna guide some, but a lot of this is gonna be hands off from me, except for where you get errors. So you have the crayfish data set in here. We're going to try to spread our wings and fly, is what I say. So I have 3 questions for you. And once we answer the 3 questions, we will move on to customizing plots. And that's the last part of what I'm wanting to teach you today. So, is adult crayfish biomass roughly normally distributed? And we already talked about how to check if there's something that's normally distributed. And if you're not sure what a normal distribution is, it's just a bell curve. But does it look like a bell curve? And then you want to use a graphing to answer, do the different crayfish species differ in biomass? A couple ways you could do that, which you've already learned. And then is there a relationship between adult, I guess that was biomass, not number of them, adult and young of year biomass? I forget that sometimes. So this is going to allow you to use at least 3 of the 5. You can use 2 of each one if you want, except for the scatter plot. So once we move through this, we can try it on your own data sets, but I want to teach customization first. Okay. And I'm telling you, like, just practice. So I don't have any code here. You might be like, but where is the code to do it? So this is practice so that you can use your know-how. Say, okay, if I'm doing, I'll go through the first one kind of, you know, what kind of, you need to think about what kind of graph you could use. I've given you a couple that you could use to answer this question, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to go up, copy and paste. Hasina's done it. Oh, damn, she did it. Okay, that's cool. We can look at it. So I want to show everybody can see that in the chat, but I'll share the window. But try to make one yourself. Try to see if it's normally distributed yourself too. Oh, okay. And we can just evaluate this. Hasina is on the case. So you're not behind if you're like, ah, I ain't that level yet. That's okay. Go to town. But, looking at this, is the crayfish data set roughly normally distributed? You can even play with the bin width on this one. Yeah, it's not great. I'll be honest with you, actually, though, in nature, these data, it's actually not terrible, but it's not great. You're right, it's kind of skewed. If I'm kind of doing a little, like the way I showed to my students to do is kind of like just draw smooth over the bars. Oh God, right? And it's actually better than a lot of natural data sets, I will say that. It's not perfect. I suggest you guys play with the bin width so because you want to try to get the bars to all touch each other. Okay. So increase your bin width just a tad. That isn't a wrong histogram. You did a great job. That is just a little like, oh, this could make it a little better. So keep at it. I mean, like I said, I'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to play with it. So you're copying and pasting code from above and just changing it based on the crayfish data set. You can rename the crayfish data set if you want, but it is up to you. And then, yeah, throw in, I'd love to see all your histograms. Play with your bin widths. Give you a few minutes for that, maybe 2 or 3, till about 2:25. And then we'll see if we can answer the next question. The code is above. So this is the practice. I'm kind of forcing you to do what you would actually do to build your own code, which is where you would scroll up, decide which code you would use to make the graph you need, and then copy it, paste it somewhere, anywhere, and repopulate it with what you need to create this histogram for the crayfish data. So I'm trying to get you to kind of spread your wings a little bit. Exactly. Yeah. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Nice. You put it in a title. It's so beautiful. It's lovely. And again, like if your bars aren't touching, it's not wrong, but you can try to put in that code about bin width. You could see that line where I made the histogram and I had bin width, right? You can play with that bin width and increase it to try to get your bars to touch because that's kind of like the best. That's how you know your bin width is good. Is when they're just perfectly touching. And you might say, oh, well, most of them touch, but there's like one space. That's okay. But if you got several spaces, try playing with the bin width. And again, if you're like, well, it's still beyond me, that's okay. That's not mandatory. It's just like if you want to really, it's like the best Instagram. So let me know if you're getting any errors too. Like when you try to run it, see if you get any errors or anything.
Are we supposed to run this data or our own?
You run it on the crayfish data set. You can run it on your own if you want to. If you want to do a histogram of your response variable, go off. That's a cool idea.
I don't know. Maybe that would be good if I do it later.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, otherwise, I just want you to be able to, because what you'd actually do, right, for your own stuff is copy and paste what I've given you and then apply it to your data set. So I'm giving you the crayfish data set to do that with. Practice. Yeah.
When I tried to run these codes, it said error in labs title best graphs ever. Could not find the function labs.
Well, we're not making that graph yet.
Oh, so which one are we doing now?
So again, like I'm asking, are the crayfish data roughly distributed? The crayfish data are ideally already in your environment, and you are using code above, like you're finding the code. Like I'm making you look for it. So I've given you the template above for the type of graph you would use, and you're going to find it and copy it and make paste a copy of whatever you need and change like the variables and data set names so it will make the histogram for the crayfish data.
Oh, so whatever we did for the heights, we have to do it again, but for the crayfish. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this first part is just is it normally distributed. So that's one kind of graph. You can choose because there's a couple of the graph types I showed you that would answer the question. This isn't about like, okay, I'm giving you something now regurgitated. I'm like having you think about it now. Right? Like so I showed you 5 graph types. 2 of those 5, actually more than 2, but really 2 will easily tell you if the data are normally distributed. You could choose one to run. Let's go. Oh, Jasmine, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yes, you did it. Oh my gosh, you guys are ninjas. Guys, you guys are so good. Oh, you did it. That's awesome. Oh man. Yeah, so you can choose. Yeah, maybe you want to separate it by species or maybe you don't. And that's fine too. I just want to make sure you can make a histogram. Awesome. Yeah. And I'll say, just for the evaluation of this, it's not perfectly normal. Most general not models, linear models, are somewhat robust to violations of the assumption of normality. So if it's close, or at least like kind of okay, like this, I'm like, it's kind of okay. It's a little bit, like, but it's kind of okay. If my variances are roughly equal, I'm like, all right, we're good. I'm not going to transform anything. Oh, Dip, you did it by year. That's nice. Nice. Love that. You guys are getting you're getting creative. You're getting it. That's so good. Awesome. Anybody having trouble? Do we need to address any errors? Oh man, this is so good. Y'all do it. Love it. So I know some folks may still be working on it. I'm gonna let you guys keep working on that. And anybody who's ready can address the second question. Don't worry, it's all just for practice and fun. And that is, do the different crayfish species differ in biomass? And I want to say by like, I would say total. You use the total column for biomass. And do the different crayfish species differ by biomass? So you have a couple of options. I can think of two that I showed you where you could make a graph to kind of try to get at whether they're different in their biomass and what the trend is. So you can try that if you're ready for it. If you're still on the histogram, that's okay too. Just take some time to try to work on that. And just let's throw it in the chat when you get your graphs. I'm giving you time to do it for sure. I know you're practicing, but I know it's not like you're not you're doing really well.
Dr. Dodd, what data will be used for that? One is like the column that says adult, and what about another one? What will put in x-axis?
Well, so if you're trying to separate things by species, what would you put on the axis?
Species?
Yes, simply.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't she? Multiple people have had this issue where there are studios telling them it can't find ggplot even though it's in their packages. So just scroll up to the line that says library ggplot or just type it in there. And then like run it and see if that fixes the problem. Sometimes ours is just weird like that. It's actually happened to like 2 or 3 different people on this call right now. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong person. Sorry, favor. Sorry, should go to everybody. 1 second. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry if you're struggling to keep up, you can now. There's a certain pace I have to keep just to get through everything, right? To make it through. But if there's like you see folks with their errors and stuff. Um, but yeah, you can always go back and watch the videos for sure. And if it's something we can address in about 5 or 10 minutes, like what other, if you got an error that other people have, if you need to see something again, that's fine. Hasina, what's your question?
My question is regarding the second question. If we want to see the difference, so we have to create box plot to see different mean and medians.
Well, the box plot won't show you the median. It'll only show you whatever you compute, right? Because remember, there's one graph that's easier to make because you don't have to like compute means. But you can do either. But yeah, you'll have to compute means if you want to make a bar graph. And there's code for that above for sure.
Okay,
You
thank
just got that. Who's the Yeah. Oh, Samantha has got the species. Did it with a block spot. Nice. Nice. It's a good box plot. Yeah, so yeah, bagel.
Dr. Dodd, can I share my screen and show the error to you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
So when I did this,
Yeah, so if you're trying to
and
make a histogram, you can't put a categorical variable in there, and that's what species is. You need to put your an adult is a continuous variable, so you can't facet wrap because that's for categorical variables. So guys, write notes in your code if you need to about this. So like You want to put the biomass as your X because it's a histogram. I know that's weird, but um, in a histogram, your response will be on the X-axis because frequency is on the Y.
Okay.
So
So should
in
I change it
x-axis,
to adult?
X-axis should not be species. It could be any of the number variables, so I would take any of those.
Like adult.
Yeah, that works. You don't, but the facet wrap, oh, yeah, so you facet wrapped it by, you see how on line 85 it says facet wrap adult? That means it's making a histogram for every single one of the numbers. So I would take that line out. Just take that line of code out.
This one?
Facet wrap,
G-
yeah. Facet wrap. That's line
Oh,
85.
that's it.
Yeah. And take out the plus sign too. Yeah, there you go. Just like that. And now run it. There you go.
Oh yeah.
Yay!
Thank you.
You did it.
even though I have run the packages, it still says error in ggplot. Should I share my screen?
No, I think just run this. I know it's weird, but run this code again just to
Yeah,
see.
I did that as well.
So you did it just now and then reran it?
Yeah,
Like, okay, show me your screen.
yeah, because you said that sometimes R does that, so I wrote this code in here so that I won't be I will run it again, and even after doing this, it still says
Yeah, go ahead and run it. Say no for now.
okay.
Oh, why is it being that way? Oh, that's so ridiculous. Okay. Some of y'all are getting these R tools things. Let me see. R tools. Maybe put this in the internet. Required because I've used R tools. Why don't, if you would, just run the line that says library ggplot and just see. I don't know why it's being sweaty you. Okay, now run the plot. Okay, so now it's saying adult is not found because you have, yeah, but you notice you have put adult as the data set in this line of code. Nope, not there, before. There you go. Yeah, either one.
No, okay.
Isn't that weird? I know. Or when it's doing that weird stuff to y'all, sometimes you just gotta play with it a little. Okay, cool. So you've got more folks who've made box plots. Once you've done that, you can move on to trying to address differences in biomass by species with the graph.
In this data, what is biomass?
Thank you for asking. So, adult is adult biomass. Total is total biomass.
Mhm.
Yes, man, it is. That's beautiful. That's correct. And then YOY is young of your biomass. So you could use I would say use total. Yeah.
Okay.
See total. It's cool. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful box plot, man. Nice. I like that. I like that middle.
So which kind of graph will we use for this one?
I'm also making you decide that. That's how we're practicing. So we're determining what graph to use, right?
Okay.
I taught you okay, when you're asking a certain kind of question, right? You would use these kinds of graphs. So do your best. Try to figure it out. This is the practice portion. And some folks have already submitted their answers. So I mean, you gotta see. Who submitted that box file? Look at his split. What was that? There we go. It was so good. What was it, Samantha? Anyway. Oh no, Samantha separated out by species. That was cool. So when you get to a box plot, yeah, feel free to throw it in the chat for whatever you're gonna make.
Is this correct? I just sent the
What's happening?
answer to number two, like if their weight biomass differs based on species.
I'm so sorry. One more
For
time.
second question,
Yeah.
I made a bar graph for the second question. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Rada. I just saw it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Sorry, I was looking at these other graphs. Yes, it is. It's good. Yay! That's awesome. Okay. I've seen it. Actually, that works. I mean, it shows the spread, I suppose. Um, yeah, good. Yeah, good. Oh, Jasmine. Okay. Jasmine, oh man, look, shoot, you were right there. Ah, Jasmine's doing the third question already. Is there a relationship between adult and young of year biomass? You were rocking and rolling. Yeah. Got a scatter plot right there. Okay. Nice. So keep at it, guys. I'm gonna give us about 5, 10 more minutes and then we kind of get through these graphs and then we'll see about just playing and customizing with some graphs. Nice, Brody. Yeah, you got it. Hima, yeah. That's a it. You're making graphs. Good deal. Couple more minutes. So if you're still working at it, that's fine. If you're getting errors, just throw them out there like the folks have been doing. That's really the way we work through these. It's so weird that R is telling you like, oh, not found. UGPod not found when you had installed it. It's so weird and had been using it. I told you, R is a temperamental mistress. Really. But you are learning to handle it. Christina, yeah, there you go. No. That's okay. So okay, you've been on R for 2 days and you already know how to make graphs. No problem. Do that. It's crazy. Yep, good. Excellent. Beautiful. Scatter plots. So then I guess we can answer. We already talked about like, right, the crayfish. Well, so y'all tell me, does there appear to be a difference or a trend in the crayfish biomass in terms across species? Do you notice any trends in terms of like one species having more biomass than the other, greater biomass?
It looks completely random to me.
Random? Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the difference in biomass by species.
Okay.
And also let me just say, um, there are ways to like center those plot titles. I'm just trying to keep it pretty simple today, for now at least. So if you're like, why is it over there? There are ways to center things more. Oftentimes, I don't have chart titles because I use figure captions for manuscripts. So yeah, Orconexes meekai has the highest. Meek's crayfish has higher biomass. Cool. So I think you were talking about before, right? The relationship between adult and young of your biomass. It looks completely random. Yeah, I mean, kind of. It seems like there's a ton of residual variation. There's a slight positive maybe relationship, but I'd have to see the statistics. Yeah, there's a lot of variation there though. So it's yeah, probably more random than not. But you can see a little trend there. Seems like. Well, it kind of some of it looks kind of like it's going in two different directions. So yeah. All right. Anybody I can give you I'm definitely happy to give you more time on this. I just want to see if anybody's having trouble, has any more errors with that. So yeah, I think if memory serves, if you want to like center the plot title, it would be how do I think? Let me have to look up my template. I have like a ton of templates from over the years. Um, moment text. Could not find function theme view. Okay, that's because, and that, so go back to the line of code that says GG themes. So if something says you cannot find a function, it's because the package is not, R is not recognizing the package. So theme view is a GG themes command. So you want to go back up to where GG themes is put in your library and run that line of code again, and then try again. So let's try that. So if you want to try to center your plot titles, you can add, oh, sorry, that's a direct message. You can add, you can try adding this. I haven't actually tried it yet. Hold on, let me copy it from above. You don't have to do this. You can just play with it. And in a couple more minutes, you can keep working on graphs if you want to and playing with them, but I can talk, kind of go over like how we kind of customize graphs just for fun. Like that's kind of just for you to play with. No, that's okay. Subset and filter kind of they actually do the same things. Honestly, to me, I mean, if memory serves, if I'm thinking, you know, subsetting and filtering is the same as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, you just choose one. Filter is in the dplyr package. Subset, I think subset is base R. Yeah. So with subset, you don't have to. So most folks didn't learn subset today. Don't worry about that. Yay, baby, you made the scatter plot. Yeah. That's yeah, Joe. That's yeah. One is base R and one is dplyr. Same thing, as far as I can tell. Was I've ever told. Okay. Um. So it's totally cool if you're still working on graphs and you can stop me with errors. I'm just going to explain some of the customization. And this is again, you don't have to do any of this. This part's just for fun. So don't worry. Um. So here. Now, just so you know, here's a way. Let's see. Tons of ways to customize graphs in R is what I say. Customizing is a fun journey. It can be time consuming though because you get errors. So I usually don't, I mean, people out taught me, I did a, what was it called? R Hammer. I did like a specific, like a really R workshop in grad school at one point, and like I was still kind of a beginner, and they're like, here's every way to make a graph. I could make every pointed part of the rainbow, and we can make them make tie-dye, and like it was almost kind of overwhelming. But I'm just gonna show you a couple things that could be fun if you want to use them. Again, not a mandate, not a problem if you don't. Yeah. So here's the deal though. Rather than using, I'm just going to create a very simple data set. I'm creating a data frame. So you can run this code if you want to. All it's going to do is just give us some data to use to make a graph. That's all it's about. And I'm just calling them X and Y. And I just put like random numbers in here, guys. You can tell I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2, 4, 6, 8. Just so we can graph some stuff. Okay. So let's say like, okay, fun fact. We're going to create a basic scatter plot, just showing you how, right? I'm going to use that data set I just made. The X and Y are the names of the columns. And I'm telling R to make me a scatter plot. But I'm also making it where I can call up the plot. You can do that. Or I can just call it back up. And so it puts it actually over here as an object. And then you can display it when you hit that. Okay. So now I'm going to show you some customization. Okay. And I'm going to explain each part. Cool. So here's where you could potentially do some customizing. And this, I'm trying to keep it pretty simple with the customizing, but I have even more customization. I mean, like y'all below this, we haven't even gotten there yet. There is a ton of customizing stuff that I've probably got like, oh, another 50 lines of code here about customizing that we probably won't get to, but we're just gonna see how far we get. And you can kind of just at this point, we're kind of like just to show you stuff and help you play with things. So, okay. I'm creating a new plot. I'm actually going to overwrite my old plot, but I'm going to use that old plot. You might want to call this plot 2, so you could have them both if you want, but I'm just fine with overwriting it. So that's an object. It has to be in your environment to call it up. Okay. And then labels. I'm going to put in my title. I'm going to call it the best graph ever. And I'm going to call my x-axis the x-axis. You would put in whatever you want, whatever your x variable would be, and then your y variable name. Okay. I'm going to use the minimal theme, but I'm going to modify it. So hang with me. I want to, and actually yesterday, I actually showed you some customization yesterday. Do you remember I showed you how to make your bars green? I showed you how to make things different colors, like in terms of the, I showed you how to make your bars different colors. So, you know, you can go to that code, and if you want to copy and paste some of it all into one code, like here's all my graph customization code, that could be useful. But here, I'm actually gonna change my size of my title and the color. So this is where you can actually affect the fonts. Like you can just graph that and see what happens. You have to call it up. So you can actually change your font colors. That's how you change font colors, okay? So I told you how to change bars yesterday. Now I'm showing you how to change font colors. And you can play with those colors, put whatever colors you want in there, just showing you. I usually leave mine black and don't even do anything to it. But I was literally asked by somebody in class or ASRI once, well, what if I want to make my graph title purple? And I'm like, why would you do that? But some people like color, and that's fine in their bright colors. Okay, so let's do some more customization. Okay, like way more. We're gonna use whole new packages. Oh, we are gonna get to it. Cool. So here on line 118, I'm making another example for you. So we are going to make a data set. Don't freak out. You don't have, this is not gonna like, this is just something so we have data to play with. You don't have to know how to make data, but you can do that in our fun fact. So this time we are going to make a big data set for 10,000 people and look for a relationship between height and length. Okay. Hand length, I meant to say, yes. So here, I just want you to know, I'm going to generate random heights, again, if you're like, whoa, what are we even doing? This is something you don't really have to know or understand right now, but I will explain it. But again, it's you're not something you terribly have to like really get into. So all of these data, fun fact, is this is actually code that you could create a data set with. Isn't that fun? And basically in it, there's something called setting the seed. Setting the seed is what you need when you like, especially when you're creating a data frame or new data set in R. If you're making it, which people mostly just use for practice, but you might use it for something else sometime. So I'm telling R I want to have 10,000 points. Okay. And again, if you're like, what are we even doing? This is not something that this session is about. I have this code in here so that I could create a data set for you really fast rather than like, I could just export this into CSV file format, honestly, and just have you upload it. But I just coded it real fast. So this is how many data points I want to have. Okay. And then heights. I'm basically telling R, I want you to sample from a normal distribution. This is actually something you can do. And I can tell it I want a mean of 170 and a standard deviation of 10. I just made these up. And then, right, half the group is this, half the group is a mean of 160 and a standard deviation of 8 for their heights. So like I'm literally just creating data. You don't even have to worry what it's about because really this is just so you have a data set. So I'm just going to run it all. So I just want you to run all 4 of those lines so you have data to play with. Okay. It's going to populate your values. And again, this isn't something you're probably going to use for ASRI. I'm not sure you're going to use it anytime soon, ever. I did this just so you'd have, basically this is me providing you with a data set. Okay. But people always ask me like, what's that code about? So, okay, just run it. And I'm like, just run it. So now we're going to make a simple scatter plot and then we'll customize it. Okay. So here I'm plotting, right? And I didn't put all this in one data frame. I could do that. That's called concatenating, but we're not going to do that right now. I just want you to make the graph because I want to show you the commands to customize. Okay. So like, here's my X variable label, my Y variable label. So this would be Y, X, they're labels, X label, Y label. Oh, excuse me, X and Y. And then, okay, let me explain PCH and CEX because these are part of what you customize. So these, actually, I want you to play with it so you can figure it out. I could tell you, but I want you to make that graph, and then I want you to change your PCH number and leave your CEX constant. And you're gonna be like, what's happening? Is anything happening? Do you notice what it does when you change the PCH at all? Oh, did no. I'm playing with it too, but now I'm having to restart art, but that's okay. Do you notice what it does when you change the PCH? It's okay, I'll get back there real fast. Ryan, what do you notice? What is PCH control? What does it let you try to change? And you can watch me reinforce it. Actually, I don't even need anything anymore. I'll give you some time to play with it, and you can tell me what it changes. And again, I'm just on line. Oh, here we go. Yeah, it's actually it's and it looks like it's space, but what it really is the shape. It's actually affecting the shape. Those different like 16, just so you know, 16 is a solid circle, okay? 17 is a triangle. Run it with 17. See what you get. See, I get little you can't see it, but you get little triangles. So let me just show you. Like when I put 16 in there, right? That's what we use as a, so I usually use 16 on most of my graphs because that's a circle. But if you have, something and you want to make it triangles, you can do that. That's 17. Um, and common values, like there are actually tables of PCH values if you're wanting to make different shapes. So like, I'm trying to think of the ones I use most commonly. 5 is a diamond. I think 0 is a square, but it goes from like 0 to I think 25 is the top. I know 20 is like basically you guys start getting different sizes of shapes too. Um, so yeah. So that will let you change what shape you have in your as your like point, which is kind of cool. And then let me like get it back on here for you. So you can kind of play with that. If you try to do it above 25, it'll like give you like nothing on the graph because um it doesn't go above that. Like the command doesn't go that high. So okay, so I'm gonna go back to 16 because that's my circle. And then this is what is the size of the points. So you can increase the size of the points with the CEX command. So like right now it's 0.5, but let's say I want it to make it like 1, right? And I run that and I'll show you because I usually actually use a CEX size much larger than 0.5 because it's hard to see them, right? But here we are. So you see it's much larger now. Yeah. And so the PCH is your shape, CEX is your size. And so that shape can be whatever size you want in the coordinate plane. So that lets you, and CEX is probably more useful than PCH. But if you get more advanced in art, as you get more advanced with graphing, this isn't really a beginner thing, but sometimes you have different treatments that you want to show, or maybe you have like you want to show something like with 3 different things with 3 different um plot like point types, like a circle and a square, and then also a triangle. So PCH lets you do that. That's a bit longer of the code, more than I would show a beginner. That's something you could do in the future. So as a beginner, the CEX command, though, can be very useful. Okay, I'm going to put it back to 0.5 because I'm going to save in this code. Okay, so now for funsies, we are going to do more customizing. I put customize. Ooh. So there are more packages. So there's our color brewer and extra font, and these give you actually it loads like a bunch of colors, obviously, and then fonts that you could play with. And this is actually the data set that I made before. I just put it down here again. Okay, the big customizations here at the very end, and that's what we'll do for the rest of the time, just for fun, again. And if you want to, um, we'll just see what we get there. So I am going to run those height. I just basically reran this again. It's the same heights. You have heights and hand lengths already. You don't need to do it again. I just have it on there twice. So we can create a color pattern for each 10%. So this is where, again, like I was shown as a beginner, something that was kind of not quite beginner stuff, just to show kind of how cool art can be. And I'm kind of doing that a little bit here, if I'm being honest. So this is done with our color brewer. So you can literally make graphs where every 10th of a percent is a different color. So the color ramp palette command tells color brewer to like essentially make a color palette across this would be every 10th percent Okay. And so out of 100, and I'm creating an object out of that. Okay. So if I do that, right, and this is an object. Again, this part's a little more advanced. I feel like I don't understand this. Most of this is actually just so you can play with it and you can see what R can do. And as you improve and like get more experience, not even improving, it's just more experience, maybe you'll use some of this. I very rarely do, but I remember it being really fun to see all the stuff you could do with R. So we're gonna set a cool font for the plot. So this is called load fonts. So I'm going to set that setting a font, okay? And I'm going to show you where we're going to use colors. Like, why did I do that? And it'll kind of make more sense and I can explain it a little bit more. So here's our values. Okay. So now I'm going to create the scatter plot with customizations and I'll explain all of it. So I'm plotting just as I did before, hand lengths and heights. Okay. But I told you I wanted the colors, right, for each 10th percent. So across the graph, each 10th percent, I want different colors. And I want, under the hand lengths, I want it to rank by quantile. Okay. And this is every 10th percent, what that means. Okay. Again, this is one that's, I know, this is actually more of like an intermediate graph, honestly. Somebody who's been using R for a while. But you can still play with it and see if you can make stuff with it. So obviously this is my X label. This is my Y label. Now you know PCH is the shapes. You can play with that. CEX is the size. You can play with that. In fact, I usually set it to 1 at least. The main. Font dot main. You can play with this. This influences the font. Color of the title. Okay, and then the label covers. And I'm put colors, and I'm putting dark green for now. And the fonts for the labels. So if you just run that, oh, I didn't do what I wanted. That's fine. Okay, so apparently my colors are being a little, oh no, it is. It is. Not as much, it's not quite getting how I wanted. That's okay. That's okay. Here, let me show you what I got. Because it's supposed to kind of be a gradient more or so, but that's no big deal. It didn't give me any errors, so I'm not sure why it's being kind of weird, but you can still play with, like, you see I changed the color of the font here. And these actually, what I suggest, just for fun, is you might kind of like see, like what happens when you change the number where it says like font main. Show you. You might see where, you could play with the color here. You can play with anything here. You can kind of see how it messes with the changes because you might actually find, oh, maybe I want to use one of these customized. Maybe I'm going to make a scatter plot and I want to customize the graph. And usually customizing a scatter plot's all we have time for, and that's absolutely the case today. Excuse me, but maybe you want to use a customized font. You definitely don't have to. If you're like, no, I am a beginner. I want to keep it as simple as possible. I say great. Honestly, I think sometimes the simplest things are most elegant. In fact, I customize things, but I actually customize things to look as simple as possible. So I don't have my code is mainly, it's actually a lot of code just to make things look simple. But you can actually make things literally simple and they still look simple. Okay. So this is just for you to play with. That's not like, I don't expect you really to use that for ASRI. That's like for your own life as you go forward to help you. You want to play with graphs. So we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to open it up now. Couple of directions you can take. If you need to ask a question or you've been working through this and you're kind of getting an error and you want to address it, because at this point everybody gets an error. It's usually a very common error. But we can do that. You can also, now that you know how to make all these graphs, you could, with your data imported into R, at least make one graph. In fact, I encourage you to do this before you go, with your own data set. So, maybe you at least hopefully know what your response variable is, right? So maybe you make a histogram. I mean, something very simple, right? If you know what kind of analysis you're doing and what kind of graph it would take, then you can try it. You can at least try it right now,
Just a
right?
quick reminder, we're less than 5 minutes away from being done and on a break. So please wrap up
So
for
yeah.
today.
So go ahead if you have a question or an error, you can address that. But if not, I highly encourage you. Try to make a graph right now. See, I would love if you make a graph before we leave, put it in the chat so I can freak out. Accomplished. Well, I haven't accomplished anything. You accomplished. I'm gonna hang out here for now. Hey, Shelby, let's see what you got. Yay! Awesome! Nice! Oh, yeah! Hey. See? Yeah, you guys, now you know how to graph and R with the data you're using. That's awesome. Man, I'll tell you what. Yeah, if you make your own graph, then you're done, man. I say you can go out to the main room and be like, I'm going on break. You can go on break early. You made a graph of your own data. Way to be. I'm going on break. You have accomplished enough. You have accomplished a lot. So yeah, I would say you have 2 minutes. See if you can make a graph with your own data. And if you do, then heck, you can just go ahead and go out to the main room and go on break. But if you haven't yet, try to make it. You still got a couple of minutes. Yeah, you could play with them. Yay, you guys, I'm so happy. Mhm. I'm just here if you have trouble or you want to show your graphs. Okay. It's okay if you miss some things. We can also you can always go back to the video. If it's something well, we're about to, the session's pretty much over, but you can definitely rewatch the video. If you get really lost, you can sign up for a help desk session, and that's fine. So yeah. Oh, we gotta go, guys. All right, well, I hope you are able to use this. I think you probably will be. So have fun, try to make some graphs, practice, right? Heck, now you actually do have the code. You could feasibly make most of the graphs and start customizing them even if you want. But you don't have to customize things, honestly. Just making a graph for your stuff. Yeah. Thank you for your attention and your work today. Does feel good. Yeah. You're so welcome. Mm. Yeah, do. Please work on creating the graphs. That is good.
Feelings.
Key links. Look at